There we go. Ladies and gents, welcome back. Welcome to PT Podcast, a podcast that saves physical therapists from missing out on amazing insight, remarkable ideas, and motivational stories. They say the best conversations happen at happy hour. Welcome to ours. I'm Jimmy McKay, physical therapist. I'll be your host tonight, broadcasting live from the Aureus Medical Studios. It's just my living room. I just want to come clean. But we'll call it Aureus Medical Studios. Find them online at aureusmedical.com. Leaders in hashtag travel physical therapy. Do what you want to do where you want to do it. And where, I mean, geographically, right? Travel assignments all over the 50 U.S. states and D.C. But also where in terms of setting, right? So all settings, all locations. Find out more, aureusmedical.com. Subscribe to the show, iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and now video casting on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter at PT Podcast on the socials. If you're watching live, I love it. Drop the word live and where you are geographically. Let us know where you're listening in from on this Thanksgiving Eve. If you got a question, a comment during the show, don't keep your hand down. Just shout it out. And by shout it out, I mean put it in the comments. Questions, comments for our guests at any time. We'll see if we can get to some of those by the end of the episode. Great show for you tonight. We've got a guest who I cross paths with on social media. I try to focus on the good things on social media and making connections and learning about people and where they come from and what they can teach you. That's a good thing about social media. So excited for that. Excited to get into it. So let's do that. Our guest tonight was a professionally trained and internationally competing ballroom dancer turned physical therapist. And I'm just going to say this right off the bat. I have no dancing ability whatsoever. So he's going to bring all the dance moves. He's been creating his own manual therapy techniques to help his patients through his organization, Project Physical Therapy. He also creates a ton of really good, digestible, clear communication via this stuff, via social media. So let's bring him in. Let's get him in here. Tonight, our guest, physical therapist, Danny Shapiro. Welcome to the show.
How's it going? It's
going well. I feel intimidated whenever I'm at like a club or anything or a wedding. I'm the guy. What I really want to do is I want to make sure the roof never collapses. So Danny, I'm the guy holding up the wall while everybody else dances. So kudos to you and other people who actually know how to do the thing on the dance floor. Danny, we get all the hard questions out of the way first. So the hardest one we lead off with: what are we drinking?
All right, so I kind of stumbled upon this drink by accident. Okay. It's a really weird thing. It's actually an Earl Grey with a little bit, like a dash of oat milk, and then about a serving of Disaronno kind of mixed all into one.
Yeah.
So it's boozy tea.
It's a boozy tea.
Delicious.
Let me write that down. I feel like we're gonna have a long winter and we're gonna need to experiment with different drinks. So boozy tea, right up my alley. I like that.
Oh, definitely recommend.
This is actually our last official live show of 2020. As the guests, listeners of the show know, in December we do best of. So we go back 12 months and we listen to audience votes and downloads, and we just kind of try to give people like a snapshot. So we do like the top 12. We do half a case of beers. So we'll do that. So that means this is the last live show of the year. So kudos on that. First round is brought to you by our friends at Owens Recovery Science. They're a single source of personalized blood flow restriction rehabilitation training, BFR, as the cool kids are saying it. They get you the certification and the equipment for you to apply it properly in your clinical practice. Also, research. Johnny's involved in research and shares research all the time. So check out his website, owensrecoveryscience.com. Plus, they have their own great podcast where they get real rabbit holey in BFR stuff. So check that out on iTunes as well, the Owens Recovery Science podcast. So the hard stuff's out of the way, Danny. It's done. So I've got to start with this. It's easy. It's all easy from here. I got to start with what I led in your intro. Like professionally trained ballroom dancer. Like, first of all, like competing too, like competition, international. Like, oh, yeah. Tell us the superhero backstory of that, and then how you got to to PT. What's your origin story?
All right, so origin, 4 years old. My parents kind of just threw me into dancing. I come from a Russian background, so dancing is like one of the main things that people go into. So around the age of 8, 9, 10, things got really, really serious. I just had a partner switch, and we were actually being molded and prepared to do our first international competition at 10 years old, representing the United States in Blackpool, England, at the World Championships there.
Wow!
And I was on the I was one of the team members. So you have 4 team members, 2 from each style, from the standard style and then from the Latin style. And typically the 4 people that are on there are supposed to be the best 4 in the country to be able to represent the United States. So the real journey. So I've been dancing from about 4 or 5 years old to 10, and 10 years old, it kicked off. And then pretty much from there, I've been in a world championship or another country every year since, claiming U.S. national titles, being national champion, and competing all over the world: Russia, Spain, Italy, Netherlands, South Korea, all over the place. And even my best results so far, I had 2 best results. One was 11th in the world, and then another one was, I believe, no, it's bad because it's my own marks, but like 5th or 6th in the world.
Wow.
But yeah, so it's
Yeah, boom shakalaka.
That's worth the boom shakalaka. Wow, you were like top 11, you're top 10 in the world in something, in dancing, competitive dance.
Yeah.
In a room full of 15 people, I'm not top 15 in dancing. I'm just going to put that out there. I'm somehow worse than everybody in the room. But what was that like at 10, competing on a world stage at anything at that level? What was that like?
Just a little stressful, just a little bit. Honestly, it was just like, looking back kind of throughout the career that I had, I'm like, how did I do that? But it's essentially like, as a kid, I had no life. It was literally wake up, go to school.
Yeah.
The second school was over, off to like Manhattan, off to Brooklyn, off to New Jersey, meeting up with my coaches, dancing until about like 10, 11 p.m. and then rinse, repeat. I remember for a portion from about freshman to junior year of high school, I pretty much just lived out of a suitcase, because it'd be literally in school for a couple months. Then the next month I'd have to be off for a week or 2 because I was traveling to another country doing a competition there. Then next week had to go travel to across the country to do another national championship there. And then, so it's like constantly on the go, constantly doing things, constantly training.
Wow.
I was like a ghost in my school. And that was that. And then I also started teaching. Like, I was actually teaching ballroom dancing from the age of 15 in Manhattan, solo. I first started teaching when I was 11, 12 years old in a local studio, but then I started to expand into Manhattan.
Wow.
And even then, I was actually, what was the motivation to go into PT, right? Like, going from that to physical therapy. I always wanted to help people. So even when I was teaching people how to dance, for any one concept, I always had 50, 60, you name it, different ways to explain how to do a certain task. And then at one point I was like, I want more. I want more of that physical, like, person-to-person contact. I want to be able to help people more than just like, dancing is great. I was working with people who were anywhere from their 20s to their 70s, and actually like helping them move and everything.
Where were their level? Anything? People learning to dance, competitors? What was who were you working with there?
Yeah, all kinds of people. I was working with people who were just starting to dance, people who, people who wanted to prepare for their weddings, people who actually wanted to compete with me. Like, you can actually do a thing where, like, you have your own dance partner, but you can actually compete with your own students at competitions. So I would do that as well.
Wow.
So it was a crazy career.
What'd that teach you? I mean, you talked about the travel, the hours, and if you're a competitive athlete, as I had some friends who knew from middle school, high school, that they were going to go to college and compete, maybe not on the world stage, but you dedicate, and you use that word, ghost, right? Because you were in and out, and you were living a couple different lives out of a suitcase as a kid. What did those things teach you, that those lessons that you probably still have now?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest lesson is to be as versatile as you can, and to adapt to your environment. Like, if at that age, there was also no escaping school. Like, I had to perform well in school, and I graduated with a great GPA and everything. Like, that was great, but you have to learn to adapt. You also have to learn really social skills, right?
Oh yeah.
Like, social skills to the max. When I was at a very young age, I was interacting and socializing with people who were, again, some of the top dancers in the world. Talking to judges, talking to
instructors,
people from all over the world. I had friends from all over the world, and you learn a lot about communication, which is what I bring to what I do now.
Right.
It teaches you so many skills. And again, it's such a young age. I always recommend, like, I work with a lot of moms, for example, too, and they ask me, oh, like, what should I do for, my 2-year-old, my 5-year-old? I'm like, dancing. Put them into dancing. Whether you want to take it and go with it, or you just want to introduce them to a more social, like a social sport, really, and just build a camaraderie, build a work ethic, build a discipline. I mean, that was great.
Reps and reps. I got a friend who's got 5 kids they're all Irish dancers, and the kids freak out.
Wow.
But they've been doing it since like 3 and 4. When you said that, I was not shocked. But the first time I was like, you got your 3-year-old in there? And then she's got like a 3, a 4, a 6, an 8. I'm like, but yeah, just watching the reactions. I mean, I'm wearing my my kid's swim coach hat. That's the holy mackerels. Whatever you're doing in terms of like involvement, in terms of social skills, a lot happens when you're not in the pool, or you're not on the dance floor. It's meeting and talking, all those different things. I mean, you're learning a lot off that stage, off that field, off that, out of that pool, off that dance floor. Wow, that is huge. I knew you were like competing and professional. I didn't realize that it was at like that scale. That's a big deal. So
thanks.
You kind of alluded to that bridge, right? Which kind of brings us to the next part of your story, which is like, okay, you wanted something. You knew that maybe, dancing wasn't going to be around forever, or eventually you just kind of wanted to segue out of it. So that's good that you recognize, what do I go to next? And you wanted more of a connection. So give us, start from there. Where'd you go to school? And like, what was your drive through school? Who'd you want to connect with? Who'd you want to treat and help?
Yeah. So in terms of where I went to school, also very unorthodox. I actually left the U.S. and went to the Netherlands to go for school.
Yeah.
So I was there for 4 years. The reason I went there, because I knew another PT who worked in the U.S., actually one of my CIs who I worked with through my clinical rotations. And with a close family friend, he went through a similar program in the Netherlands.
Wow.
Now in the Netherlands, they're very manual therapy based, right? Big time with the hands, arthrokinematics, right? Like huge on working with these. I remember we had a modalities course where it was like we spent 2 weeks on e-stim, ultrasound, and like any other stuff, and it was like, all right, cool, done, next, because it's not something that was really used. So I really went there because I was like, oh, that's great. I want to be manual. I want to be movement based. I want everything to be around mobility. Again, given my dancing background, it was all about movement. So that was that. So I went there, and it was a very interesting experience, very difficult, of course. But it taught me a lot. And speaking of which, a really big difference that I believe in, from what I hear, from what I've looked into, the difference between that education and an education that I would have gotten here, really interesting. And the first week, we had a representative from this sports organization come into one of our classes to talk about extracurricular kind of opportunities.
Gotcha.
And I was like, yes, let's go. I want to be a sports PT. Let's do this. So essentially, in my first semester of school, I was already exposed to soccer, to rugby, baseball, and their injuries. Now, I ended up going with the rugby team. That's why I wanted to shadow this particular guy with the rugby team. And then a year later, I was actually given my own rugby team.
Wow.
As being the sole physical therapist as a student.
Cool.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. As a student, I was given a physical therapy team, which I traveled around all of Netherlands with them. Wow. Assessing, diagnosing, treating. Like, it was crazy. So
is it 3 years over there as well?
So they had 2 options. They had a 3-year and a 4-year. I chose the 4-year. And then I remember actually after I left, it was only a 3-year that you could do there. But yeah, I mean, that was nuts. And then so for 3 years, I had a team. I had a team that I traveled around. And that was
fire. You were going to learn a lot. You want to talk about communication skills? You got to handle that. But also, like, can I learn on the fly? Can I without someone right next to me? How can I reach out and get information? Is it the internet? Is it a phone call? Is it a mentor?
Exactly. And I was huge on that, because again, I wanted as much exposure to real experiences, real people. And let me tell you, some of the things I saw, oh my God.
That's real. And rugby guys don't hold back. Was it male or female rugbies?
Mostly male. I would sometimes sub in for whoever couldn't make it for the female team. But I mean, they were sometimes more aggressive than the men. Like, oh my God, they're amazing.
Rugby players are not going to hold back. Gender does not equate. It is.
Oh
it is
no,
mentality.
God, no. They were amazing, amazing athletes. That was also a great experience. I mean, overall, it was wonderful, and like that was my goal. My goal is to help not only athletes, and I work with a lot of them, but my goal, my desire, is to work with people who want to be active, stay active, whether it's a gym, a sport. Um, like I left the dancing community, but when I came back as a PT, I worked with all of those dancers, like top level, top in the country, top in the world, and trained them. And through working through body mechanics and getting them to be at the best possible level for when they actually compete.
You spoke their language, and they recognize that. Like,
Yeah.
Well, now I would say now you're fluent in 2 languages, right? You know dance, and now you're saying, hey, I know exactly. Not only do I know what's going on with your body, I know what's going on with your head and what you want to be able to do, and what that's preventing you from doing. I mean, that's speaking 2 languages fluently.
Exactly. So, and that was like, it was just so nice for me to be able to do that. Like I love that.
For the podcast listeners, I mean, they can hear it in your voice when you find that intersection. Wow, like that is powerful, because that's the reason you jump. You do not get out of bed. You jump out of bed. That's a reason that you look forward to Mondays. You don't dread Mondays, and you're psyched for But did my next patient cancel? What can I just duck out and grab? No, you're like, hey, I can't wait to see this person. I want to see what happened in the last 2 weeks since I've seen them. You find that intersection, and I tell people all the time, it's possible. Here's another example. Keep looking for that. Always be on the lookout for it. If you can't find it, create it. So how did you create it? Let's talk about what you do now. Project Physical Therapy. Website's projectphysicaltherapy.com. Talk about it. You're already smiling, and I just said the name, once, but how do you explain it when someone asks?
So, I mean, I opened up my practice in the hopes of creating a different standard of care, of really not only treating the person's pain, right, but really treating the person, as an individual. And the reason why I called my practice Project Physical Therapy is because everyone is their own individual project, right? Everyone has their own goals. Everyone has their own desires. Everyone, Sally may want to be able to walk down the street with her kid, but Michael wants to go back in the gym and start doing bicep curls. Like, everyone is so different. And I wanted to make that clear. A lot of the people that I see, they've been through the rounds, they've been through multiple PTs, they've been through chiropractors, they've been through doctors, and it's just they feel like they hit a dead end, and that's it. Like we deal with our pain now. This is what we do. We take 6 Advils a day. And I was like, no.
Right.
We're not going to do that. We're going to find you a damn solution, and we're going to make sure we do, and we're not going to stop until we do. So that was really the big motivation. And look, I'm a young guy, right? I'm going to be 27 in a few months, and I just opened up my own practice in the beginning of the year, right? I'm using the experience that I got in the Netherlands. I got my experience here through clinical rotations. And people are always shocked, like, oh my, like you opened up your own practice at 26? What? Like, That's nuts. That's crazy, right? 25, really. And it was literally in January, the first day that Project PT opened. But that's my drive. And everyone who's come through my doors got a taste of that and got to experience that and to live that. So
your drive, what I love is I asked you about your practice, your company, and you immediately went to people. Which is why you're going to be successful, right? I mean, if you, hey, I built this because I like, I would have been like red flag, but you like went to people. Project Physical Therapy is around people. I built this because I saw this. How's it going? Like, that's an open-ended question, because like you opened a practice 2020, not necessarily the easiest time to do it. And if I always say, like, the things you need to have, right? Knowledge, skills, connections, right? On top of all that, I always just say, give a shit, right? If you want to leave me out, like, if you have give a shit, you can't be beat. You can't beat someone on the field or off if they're just like, I'm not going to quit. So I'm guessing you had a couple doses of that. But how did it go? How's it going? Like,
so we started off great.
So what?
Oh my God.
We started great, and then
COVID. So like everything was going great. Then COVID started happening, and then we're mostly based around having in clinic visits.
Sure.
So COVID hit, and then being an essential business, I could stay open, but for the safety of others. Again, my practice is in Brooklyn, heavily populated, very dense. Everyone is mostly going by public transport.
Yeah.
Right. I just did not want to risk it for anyone's health, for anyone that comes in, for myself, for my family. So I was like, you know what? Let's close the doors for a few weeks. Let's just see what happens. I feel like it was a responsible thing to do. Just let people stay home.
Sure.
So we were thinking, okay, like people are staying home now, but wait, they're still in pain. And then now everyone's sitting at home and not moving as much. Even people who are used to walking down a few blocks to get on the bus and walk a few more blocks to get to your job, that movement is already gone. So like back pain cases exploded through the roof. Neck pain exploded through the roof.
People are working from home. They're sitting like this all day, or they're not in great environments.
Exactly. So then, then we were like, all right, how can we still provide a service? So then we started doing digital therapy, and that was amazing, amazing. Started working with people who were not even local to Brooklyn. I had patients in the Hamptons. I had patients in towns upstate New York that I've never even heard of. We were able to actually reach so many more people. So in a way, like COVID is terrible. What happened to people who lost their lives, unfortunately, businesses that shut down, families, all of that. But out of that despair and unfortunate happenings came this opportunity where we are no longer confined. We can actually help people who are still in need, whose other PTs places that they used to go to closed down and never presented that other option.
I mean, I work with, within the APTA, there's HPA, the Catalyst. So it's a section of the APTA, and part of that is like this technology SIG. And I remember, I almost said last year again, in Denver, CSM, which was in February, which feels like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Telehealth was the buzz. And everybody said, it's great, but 5 years, 10 years from now, trust me, you got time. Necessity is the mother of invention. Yes, COVID, like, believe me, it's super anti. But what I like about what happened was people like yourself, and you're talking about, you've locked on to other people, and how can I now reach them? Okay, this road is closed, shut down. You might have been able to do it because you were deemed essential, but you were like, not safe. How do I go around, over, through, underneath? And that's, I mean, you said, what can I deliver? I mean, you said it, like using the hands. Okay, I can't do that right now, but what can I do? And that's a PT mentality. Okay, I'm not going to focus on what you can't do. Show me what you can. We'll work with that. So, So where are you right now? Because are you back in person? Is it a hybrid still? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So right now we're back in person, and we've been back in person for a few months now. And we take all the necessary precautions. A lot of the stuff we were already doing pre-COVID, like wiping down after every single patient. Wiping down surfaces. All of that was already done. The only thing that was really different is like gloves and masks. That's really it. So right now I'm actually doing in person and still doing digital.
Why not? Like, give me a good reason. Well, now you built relationships with people you physically might have not been able to see, and now you can. Why? You've created a bond. Someone likes working with you. Ramp it up.
Exactly. I mean, I got more and more patients that were out of city and far away. As those people who I helped that were outside of Brooklyn got help and felt better, referrals, which is wonderful.
I got a guy. Right. His name's Danny. Here's his number. Like, I got a guy. Okay, tell me more. Like, word of mouth. Wow.
Yeah.
That's powerful.
Exactly. And if you're a PT who's listening to this, like, don't shy away from digital therapy. There's so much you can do that does not require your hands. There are so many things. And it actually gives you more of an opportunity to really hone in on mobility.
Right. Yeah. Sharpen those skills too, right? Your communication.
Oh my God. Absolutely. There's nothing that'll build your communication of what you want your patient to do in person than over a Zoom session where you're trying to get them to turn their hip, and they're like, how do I turn my hip? Well, okay, then you have to find different ways of how to describe that motion.
Right.
So it's such a beautiful experience, and I would say it's probably around, right now it's 60% in person, 40% digital.
Wow. Good for you for investing that. And honestly, we're talking about patient care. I'm talking about webinars and sharing information and platforms. And believe me, I'm a guy who likes to be in person. Like, I'll hug it out. Let's have an actual drink in person, please. But if you think that the hybrid option is not going to forever be there, that's naive, right? So even if we're back in person and a 10,000 person event, there's going to be webcams, there's going to be lights and cameras and microphones somewhere off stage transmitting that. That's just the world. It just fast forwarded things. It really sped some things up, I think.
It really did. I mean, honestly, I did not even think for a second about digital therapy prior to COVID. And again, while it's great for my business, at the end of the day, I'm for the people, and that gives me an extra opportunity to really help people out. And again, the power of digital therapy, doing it properly. There are people who have, again, been through PTs, and here I am coming across digitally and being able to help them better than when they went in person.
Impacting them, which says, hey, what's between our ears is really powerful. Let's not discount our hands. That's not what a lot of people are saying. They're saying what's between your ears is super powerful too. And you're willing to go the extra mile to communicate this. I want to highlight this. So we'll make sure we share Danny's social media platforms on Instagram at official Danny Shapiro. You're willing to go the extra mile and put yourself to test things out. How are the cold shower therapies going?
Oh my God.
Because I've heard about this, and I love warm, not a huge fan of cold. So, like, talk about why you started it, what was the reason behind it, and then, like, also, like, how's it going?
Oh, it's really good, but we'll get to that in a second. So, I'm like you. I also enjoy hot showers, but I was always a little bit more towards the cold. I think it's my Russian lineage that's like cold, cold, cold. Even actually as a kid, my father and I, we used to have a little competition of like, we used to have a phrase, there's no such thing as cold. And we would go up and down, whenever we went on a ski trip or whenever it would snow in New York, we'd go outside in shorts and have a snow fight in shorts and boots. And just that's what my childhood was like.
What Russians do. Okay,
exactly. So then I've been following Wim Hof, the Iceman, for like a solid couple of years. And then something, I don't know, in the last couple of weeks, something just was like, you know what? Like, it just clicked. I'm like, I'm going to do this thing. I'm going to start doing this. So today's the 10th day. So 10 days ago, I was like, you know what? Let's start. Let's rip that Band-Aid off and just do it. I'm always for trying to find the healthiest lifestyle as possible, doing the most that I can for my body, because our bodies, it's the only one we got.
What we got.
For the next 40, 50, 60, 70 years, this is what we're working with. So why not treat it well now, invest now, and then reap the benefits later?
All right. So for people who don't, Wim Hof, the Iceman, he's like swimming in like the Arctic or Antarctic. Whatever. He's somewhere super cold with penguins. But what's behind it? Like what's the benefit of? Because I've heard other podcasts too, like Joe Rogan's talked about it. Adam Carolla and those guys talk about it. Like, what's the deal? Because I always, honestly, I hear cold shower and my ears probably just go, nope. And I check out of what the reason is. But what do you got? Yeah.
So aside from the actual benefits of the cold and what it does to your adrenal system, that shock, it drops it raises stress momentarily, but ultimately it reduces stress. It improves circulation. It improves brown fat accumulation. It actually, what happens when you get that cold burst, and I go from hot to cold, by the way, it's not just a cold shower.
Is it like, do you jump in cold? So I'm guessing no.
Not yet. I'm transitioning to twice a day. So in the mornings, for example, it would be cold right away. And then in the evenings it would be hot, then cold. But I mean, damn, so good. And the breathing that comes with it, just...
And you're supposed to, there's some techniques that you can do. I mean, we could find out more at Wim Hof, but I just want to, I know you're doing that because you were sharing it a lot on your Instagram stories.
Yep.
And that's really what I wanted to get to, which is you're walking the walk and talking the talk, walking the walk. You're doing it, but you're also sharing it in ways that are very, very digestible. That's how I, tripped across you somehow. I actually think that I saw on D-Rock's page, he was like, here's my physical therapist. And I was like, oh, there's someone I follow about content creation. And I'm like, the word physical therapist. I'm like, check out this intersection. So I followed you immediately and I was like, okay, this guy gets it. Like, Danny's always there he's dancing and doing TikTok stories and stuff like that, but it's digestible, good information that spreads. I mean, there's the trifecta: digestible, good information that spreads.
Yeah, and that was really what I wanted to. So like one of the biggest problems with social media is that there are so many PTs, which is great, but there's so many PTs that are posting content. Now, what I've noticed, and I've done a lot of research into it, like, because I also did it, was that it kind of all overlaps. It kind of gets a little bit monotonous. I mean, there's different ways to present it, different stretches, but it's generally a lot of the same kind of stretches everyone uses because that's, what we have. So what how the dancing thing started, right? Because I didn't always dance in my posts. I kind of did it by accident. I was like, I made a video and I was feeling the song and I was like, I'm just gonna throw it in there at the end. And I was like, do I post it? Do I post it?
Always post.
All right. Yeah, exactly.
Always post it.
Post. Create. So I just did it, and then literally like overnight, it just went.
Because now you were authentic. That's you. If Jimmy dances, it'd probably be just goofy enough to go viral for the wrong reasons. But that's the real you. I mean, that comes across, and it's not difficult to see that you know how to dance because as soon as you get into that, like that is rote. Like you've got that. That's muscle memory, and that's what people connect with. It authenticity. Yeah. Start there.
Exactly. That's exactly right. And it felt good to be able to actually move around a little bit because from my background. But what I also found, which was so this is what made my heart soar the most, right? Is that because people had something to look for. I did the dancing at the end for a reason, because people had something to look forward to at the end, and that made them watch the video. So when they actually watch the video, the stretch or the exercise that I'm showing, there's a much more higher chance of them actually trying it, as opposed to oh, okay, I'll save this for later, and then 2 weeks go by and they're like, oh, I kind of saved that from 2 weeks ago. I won't do it. So I've had so many, my DMs got flooded, comments galore. People are trying it, people are doing it, and people are feeling better, which makes my freaking day, because that's my goal.
That's the point. I want you to try it. Just try it. Don't tell me you'll think about trying it. Don't do it tomorrow. Don't save it off. Try it. And you put that fun, real, authentic thing in your content. Nobody else can be Danny Shapiro. We can't do it. Even if we studied for you, we can't have your history. But that's your authentic self. Whatever you are, bring that into your content. You mentioned you didn't start doing that. So for physical therapist assistants out there, you mentioned something that I want you to reiterate again, which is you didn't do it at first and you almost didn't do it. I think a lot of times we're literally, and you did that motion, right? We're like, should I? What would you say to that person? Like, I don't know. I don't want to step out. I feel weird. I feel uncomfortable. They're all going to laugh at you, right? What would you say to that person? Push them over the edge to do it. What would you say?
I mean, do it. People need to see the real you. Whether you're a PT, an artist, whoever you are, whoever you want to portray to the audience that you want to reach, show them who you really are. Again, PTs, people know what a PT looks like. PT, they know that stretches and exercises. And by the way, this is not to say, I'm not knocking down any PTs. I know a bunch of really great PTs who post amazing content and help thousands of people. But to those who are nervous about posting content and being their real self, whether it's a little dance, whether it's a little this, a little that, just do it. Do it, because people appreciate, they think you're real. They know you're real once they see that.
Say it like you'd say it. I got a buddy who I'm helping open the clinic. We're going to have him on the show in the next couple of months. And he didn't have a Facebook page before he opened his clinic. He made it. He was like, listen, I don't do that, whatever. And I'm like, then don't do that. He started the clinic and he's like, I think I should. And I said, why? And he's like, because I have to connect with an audience. I said, great. So if you're doing it for them, do it, right? Like you want to give them information. It's a give. But he's like, well, what do I do? And I kept answering all of his questions with questions. I was like, what do you have to bring to someone? Who do you want to help? Describe this person to me. How would you say this? If I said, hey, he wants to work with throwing athletes. Hey, the throwing athletes in front of you. What are the things that you typically say when a throwing athlete walks through the front door of your clinic? What do you say? Say that into the camera, say it in text, say it in audio, say it in graphics, say it. And when you think you've said it too much, triple it. Triple it.
Yeah.
So it's this ledge that you've got to jump off. And I am with you, and I have a career in broadcasting. Even for me, it was like, I don't know. People are going to say, you don't know enough, It is hard. It is definitely worth it. Take the leap.
Absolutely. I mean, personally, it was the longest 5 minutes of my life. We're just waiting.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's great.
But it was the biggest thing because, again, it was just, I got to connect with my audience in such I want to say intimate, but not intimate. But it made me close with my audience. It made them like connect and realize that I am a real person, just like they are.
But as a person who consumes your content, I feel like I wasn't reading a textbook, but I was getting good information, right? So like,
Yeah.
I'm not going to knock textbooks, but I am going to knock textbooks. That's how I learn, right? So you were showing me information I could find in a textbook, material that is textbook, but you were doing it in a way with Danny's spin on it. And it was fun and it was engaging. And like, I don't know about you, but I like things that are fun and engaging. So and what you're saying is, if this is your flavor, write this way. If this is not your flavor, listen, there's lots of other people out there you can learn from and that you're probably going to gravitate to. That's not me, and that's great. You do you. But that's what I'm saying. Listen, your audience is going to do them. You need to do you. There's a lot of people. Listen, we got one of you and a lot of other people. Be you. Everybody else is taken.
Yes. I love that. That's amazing. Yeah.
What have you learned since you've taken that leap? Like after that, go. What are some things you'd learn that you'd share, in terms of like best practices or things that, the audience could up their game to? And I'm not looking for hacks or cheat codes. I like basic, real things.
Well, I mean, like, are you asking in terms of like what that leap of faith kind of did in terms of what the information I shared, or
I asked, that was a crappy question. Let me ask a better podcast host.
No, it was me.
Tomorrow morning, well, that's Thanksgiving. You just be with your family. Friday morning, you're going to create a piece of content, right? Where do you start? Do you start with the person? Do you like picture, hey, I want to talk to this person who, maybe I treated a patient a week ago and I'm wondering how she's doing. Okay, if there's a couple people in my audience like her, let me create. Like, where do you start when you're like, oh, hey, this is content, let me make it? Like, where's your head start?
So I take it from just day-to-day experiences. Like I am typically a very positive person, right? And I try to really portray that, bring as much positivity into people's lives as possible. But I come across really negative shit all the time.
Oh yeah.
Right. So like, whether it's a patient breaking down on the table in front of me and literally handing them tissues as they are breaking down and just super emotional and being there for them, and hearing the failed horror stories that they experienced going elsewhere, that is where I get a lot of my motivation from. If I'm showing a patient something, I'm like, oh wait, I can turn this into an actual stretch and or exercise or some kind of explanation of something. I will take that, remember it, and then film it later. Like I try to take as much as I can from real-time experience, because if that's coming up in day-to-day experiences, then that's something that I need to share with my audience, right? Like I display this message a lot in terms of like, if you don't find if you're going to a PT, chiropractor, just even your PCP, and you're not getting the care that you need, have the courage to find another PCP, another chiropractor, another PT, who do what's best for you, right? So that's a message I really portray a lot, because again, that comes up a lot.
Yes.
A lot.
Yeah.
So really just day-to-day experiences.
Yeah, I mean, and I saw a tweet that came out earlier today on your feed, which sounds like that. I mean, it sounded like it was a message to one person, right? It sounds like you were writing that message, like, I'll be here for you, right? I'll give you a tissue. Like it was very pointed. It sounded like it could have been written for one person, but when you send it to many, right, with these tools, let us broadcast. If that message resonates with someone, man, that's a connection. That's power. Like, hey, I didn't have that interaction with someone today, but man, I've been there. And Danny just said that's building connection, because you literally put out there, hey, I had a connection today. How can I make this message resonate and just let people know, like, hey, I'm here for you. And you did that in one tweet, in 20 words and a couple of emojis. But that's a way of like, hey, I could give you a book or a manual on here's how to create the best tweets ever. But yours was real, which is why it beats any manual or cheat code ever.
Exactly. And that's exactly kind of like what we're talking about here, is being real, not only with your audience, right? Because that's, when you put yourself out there onto the phone, right? But also be real with your patients.
Yes.
Right. Like the way I am on social media is 100-fold the way I am with my patients, right? I make sure that I am literally there for them through everything. My interest is their interest. My goal is their goal, right? That I'm there to help them along their journey, to help them to be their best, feel their best. And I inject as much of positivity, as much as, funny dad jokes and all of this. I try to connect with them so much to really have them be able to trust me, to be able to share things with me, to be able to just, we're on this journey together. This is a partnership.
Why you called it project, right? It's your project. I'm here to help, but this needs to be both of us. Next idea would be bad dad jokes, good dancing. I'm gonna throw that out there. I don't want
my God.
T-shirt. Will Lucas dropping in the comments. I'm guessing he was taking a listen to you talk about those hands, right? Going to school where you did. Besides not being hands-on, some of the other struggles you find with telehealth, we talked a little bit about, hey, you need to pay attention. Can you rotate that hip? I don't know what that means. Okay, so demonstration is probably a good technique on like what I want you to do is this. Any other struggles that you've been able to overcome when you jumped right in, mid-COVID to go telehealth? What would you suggest?
Do you mean aside from bad Wi-Fi or?
Bad Wi-Fi? I would say it's funny, but like always have a backup plan. Because maybe that telehealth visit, if you've got to connect, now it's a phone call or it's a FaceTime. If it's not a laptop, that thing died. So that sounds like we're being facetious, but have it a backup plan. Because if you can't connect, you can't connect.
Yeah, that opportunity is gone. But it's funny because the biggest things that you kind of have to overcome are maybe the silliest or kind of like not really thought of things that you have to overcome. Like, the PT should be able to explain movement X in multiple different ways, right? Like, if it's a matter of rotating the arm, it's physically showing rotation of the arm, bring your bicep up to the ceiling, whatever it is. But it's also things like communicating what they need to do with the telehealth. Like, for example, if we're going to do a telehealth session right now, like I need to be able to see all of you. Right. So it's really how you need to position yourself within the session as the patient, what the patient needs to wear, what should be around the patient. So for example, if it's someone who is balance compromised or has weak musculature, chair, table, wall, it's something safe, because if someone falls and breaks something, guess what? Just like if they would fall and break something in your practice, it's on you. So it's like all these safety measures that you have to kind of bolster up. Really communication, like in the beginning, it was like the smallest, I just didn't think of it. So for example, in the beginning, one of the first few people I got, not even as a session, just as like a introductory, I do a lot of things called discovery visits, where it's essentially like I sit down with people for 30 minutes and talk with them about kind of like what the experience is going to be like. And it's not real treatment, just a conversation. But one of the first few telehealth digital therapy sessions I had was the woman was holding her phone like this, a selfie, and she was in a winter jacket outside with a bunch of noise. And I was like, environment.
If I couldn't outside in Brooklyn right now, this interview would be a little bit hard for the audience to hear. I couldn't hear him, he couldn't hear me. But if you didn't think about it, you didn't, right? I don't know if I would have. You just assume. We have to set that expectation.
Yeah, exactly. You can't just assume that someone's going to be in their house, right? Which is what I did. And I found out real quick, don't assume. So in the confirmation email, it was like being in a good room in your house with good lighting, plenty of space. Some people I actually work with in a hallway if the home isn't available, like if in an apartment building.
Kids are home, school, right?
Whatever.
Others work at home. Hey, the only place I have is the hallway. Okay, let's do it. Do that.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Right. But that's really the honestly the biggest hurdle. It's not really the therapy itself. It's making sure that it's a good environment. It's you're not trying to say, oh, do you hear me? Do you hear me? Do you hear me? Okay, can you put it up a little bit? Put it down a little bit. And also really actually being creative is another thing. Like again, just being creative with how to explain things, of what to do. Right? Get creative. Find, take a problem and write 30 different ways on how to fix that problem.
Well,
using the same move.
Some people in any field, if you never have anything that challenges you, you'll have the way or maybe two ways to do something. And then all of a sudden life throws your curveball where you're doing something by telehealth and you're going, I can't do it. Where I think people who are adaptable or not, I do not think it's an age thing. I really do think it's a mentality thing. If you are adaptable, you will find, and you should be able to be, okay, that doesn't work, find a new way. That door closed, find a new way. Because the goal has not changed. This person needs this. How do I do that? Okay, now you got to do it with your eyes closed. How do I do that? And all I heard from you with that answering Will Lucas's question, by the way, Will, thanks for asking. Know your tools. In the clinic, there's no barrier, right? So it might be that's lower, right? But maybe you work in a very busy clinic and that person has problem concentrating. Is there a quiet room I can go to? But now in telehealth, that environment, that's different. It's, I need to communicate this. I've got to know how this platform works. I've got to know, what I'll be able to see or how to position them somehow in the room. And hey, can you pivot that camera down? What does that mean? Okay, I always say pitch. Can you nose that camera down right there? Because we got a lot of headroom. Okay, we can do that. So know your tools. This thing just became your tool. Get real comfortable with that tool because it's going to be a part of your existence if that's where you're practicing. I love that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I like it. All right, last thing I wanted to focus on real quick. PTs and the medical community addressing patient care without a focus on money. Like, I feel like it's this circle, right? It's like, what I would love, Danny, is if a lot of PTs just walked around their community and provided care for free. We can't do that because I would like to live somewhere and pay rent and buy cornflakes and all that. But how can we like change that focus so PTs can address patient care without that focus or that barrier being money? What's something you've come across, and how do you address that?
So it's an interesting question because like I've worked in an insurance-based practice, and I myself am out of network with all insurances because I refuse to work by the guidelines that the insurance policy demands us.
Companies.
Yeah, I see one patient an hour, which allows me to really focus in and give the time and the things that they need, really need. Not a little 5-minute massage, e-stim, ultrasound, check. Okay. Oh, insurance covers hot, cold therapy. Great. Hot pack, cold pack, check. Have a PTA come in, change them out. Okay. Drop the patient there. My PTA will take care of it. No. None of that. Right. And that's really the experiences that people have brought to me, that was what they went through. But even working in an insurance-based practice, right? It depends really who you work for and if it's your practice or if it's not your practice, but people need to find a way to connect, right? When you're looking at how many patients can I get in a day kind of life in your practice, you're going to fail.
Yeah.
You're going to fail. Your patient's going to fail. It's just a bad time for everybody, and I understand people have no choice. However, if you are seeing 3 patients an hour, 4 patients an hour, what can you do to make sure that 10 minutes, and let's be real, that 10, 15 minutes that you're spending with each patient is the most beneficial, right? Now, that's not a lot of time. And again, people are being cycled through, and I personally do not believe in the e-stim. I think very few people actually need e-stim. I have 2 units of e-stim. I have never touched it once. Like, not once. It's collecting dust in the closet. Same goes for ultrasound. Not touched it once. People need to find better options. Like, it breaks my heart that the stories that I hear from patients, it really kills me because it's so unfortunate. And while I'm so happy I have the opportunity to work with them and to change their life, it just pains me. And this is also not just for PTs. I can't tell you how many times I've heard from a patient that their doctor, their PCP, some specialist, doesn't matter, that their doctor told them to just live with it.
Yeah. Oh,
just live with it.
That's crippling.
Yeah. Like, I just think, like, if I was in their position and I came to the doctor and I heard just live with it, I'm like,
live with it.
What do you mean? And most of the time people are like, well, the doctor said it, so I guess
That's done.
And sometimes I wish that the people who do those things are treated that way once.
Yeah.
Right.
Walk that walk. I have to walk that walk. They would be infuriated. That's the kind of person, I bet, that wouldn't take that for an answer. So why would you give that answer?
Exactly. And that's really, again, to the numbers game. I mean, you listen, if you need to see 30 patients a day, 40 patients a day, I get it. But don't make it about the money. Don't make it about taking off the insurance. Connect with the person, that, like, help them the best that you can. If you can only see them for 15 minutes, have a list of resources that can help them around the clock, even when they leave your office, right? What can you do as a provider to give them the best, to give them your everything, even though you have a limited time? So that's why I don't take insurance-based practice as an excuse, right?
Because that's on you as what you can do as a person, right? So this is exactly what you explained of why you moved from dance to physical therapy. It's about people and what you can bring to them. If your focus is on that, you can't miss. If your focus is always on that, you can't miss. But if you don't like the environment you're in, change it. Like if that is devastating to you, if it's making you want to leave the profession, hold on. Before you jump ship out of a profession, can you move somewhere else and pivot in that profession and make your life better and everybody you interact with better? I love that. That's why it's private physical therapy.
Exactly. Exactly. It's absolutely wonderful.
Are you ready for 3 questions? It's a little feature we do on the show. You ready?
Oh yeah.
Let's do 3 questions. Let's do that right now.
Do it.
We've got special music. I want to see Danny. Just give me what would you do with this music? How would you dance to this music? Give me there you go. See, I can't do that. My body just doesn't move that much. 3 questions brought to you by our friends at RES Medical Staffing. Find them online at aureusmedical.com. Leaders in #travel physical therapy. I always say you get a physical therapy or physical therapist assistance license. You are free to move about the country. Right? Do what you want in any setting, all 50 states and DC. Again, that website, aureusmedical.com. First question is where question. Once everything is safe and we're free to move where we can, right? When everything is post-COVID. I want to start saying post-COVID a lot more. Where is somewhere in the 50 U.S. states that you'd want to go? You're in New York. But where else? Where's somewhere in the U.S. you haven't been that you'd like to go?
North Carolina.
Yeah, it's warm down.
North Carolina.
I like that. See, I could take get cold showers in North Carolina because it's warm, so that wouldn't be bad. Welcome to North Carolina because there's people there, which means they need PTs there. So again, aureusmedical.com.
Yep.
Second question is a what question. What is something that you've read or watched or listened to, a book, a movie, a podcast, that you think the audience would get value from?
Ooh. Oh my God. I've read so many amazing things in the last few months. I feel like I have 2 recommendations.
Go for it.
Atomic Habits.
Oh, that's James Clear.
Yep.
Yeah, that looks pretty good.
Yep. That one's amazing. And then the other one is by David Goggins. I'm spacing on the name, but oh my God, everybody has to read it because that puts everything into such perspective of, oh my God, it's so good. It just makes you want to literally just get up in the morning and just do whatever you got to do, whether it's sports, business, whatever. It gave me such a drive to let's go. 4 a.m. wake ups, 5 a.m. wake ups.
American Runner. Is that the one?
No. It's the one.
It's like he was the 40% rule, right? Where he's like, if you think you're done, because he was a SEAL. Right?
Yeah.
He's got that 40% rule, which is like when you think you're done, that means you're only 40% of the way there. Like mindset, and he's always like doing his videos while he's like, I mean, the dude's jacked. He's like shirtless and running. He's like, I've been up since 4 a.m. and I got this. But like, dude brings it, and like you can tell he is his authentic self when he is screaming at people to get their ass in gear. I like it.
Yeah, and actually, the book is called "Can't Hurt Me."
Oh, okay.
It is so freaking good. So
Atomic Habits, Can't Hurt Me. Question number 2. Question number 3 is a who question. I like to start them with people. Who's someone the audience should know more about?
Wim Hof. No. Well, I mean, yes. But there's the one guy in particular that I really need to actually give a shout out to because he actually revolutionized this whole COVID PT game. His name is Paul Goff.
Yeah.
I credit all of the success that my practice has had in large part to him because he opened up my eyes so much. And if you're a PT, if you're a PT student, if you're an OT, chiropractic, it doesn't matter who you are because all this information applies to everybody. Holy shit, look him up. That's so good.
Brought to you by RES Medical Staffing. Find them again, aureusmedical.com. Last thing we do on the show is the parting shot. Parting shot brought to you by our friends from the Academy of Orthopedic Physical Therapy. When you're looking to level up your game, maybe you've got some time on the couch soon. We'll be doing some quarantinis. Why not level up your orthopedic game? Leaders in orthopedic physical therapy at the Academy of Orthopedic Physical Therapy. Find them online at orthopt.org. They've got current concepts of orthopedic physical therapy, which is the leading instructional course if you want to get that OCS. So why go anywhere else? Why not go to the Academy of orthopt.org is where you find it. So Danny, parting shot is really your chance. Mic drop moment. What would you want to leave with the audience of physical therapy is, and again, no pressure, our last live show of 2020. So our last parting shot of 2020. But what's something you want to leave as a sentiment, kind of your mic drop moment, your soapbox deal? What do you got for us as your parting shot?
So if you are a healthcare provider, please work on being yourself. Work on being the real self to your patients, projecting. Don't be shy with who you are. Don't try to hold back who you are. And let your patients see who you really are, because that's really the only way that they will actually connect. Pain is much more than the physical. It's emotional. It's social. It's psychosocial. There's so much that goes into pain, and your patients crave your support. So give it to them. And if you are a patient, guess what? And you're not liking the support that you're getting, the treatment that you're getting, the providing service that you're getting, go somewhere else. Find someone who will support you.
Demand that, right? Be your authentic self. And if you aren't getting that from someone else, leave. There are a lot of other providers out. There's some great ones. Hey, you didn't find one out of the gate? Keep looking, because they're out here, right? So be your authentic self and create, right? You got to do that. We'll drop the socials in the show notes of the episode with Jenny Shapiro, Project Physical Therapy. Thanks for helping us wrap up 2020. As we cheers out of here, I'm going to make a boozy tea sometime very soon. The temperature drops here in New York as well. Let me know when you want to come back. Awesome. We'll talk about something fun. Maybe between now and then, I'll work on my dance moves as well, Danny.
We'll have a dance off. How about that?
It'll be over quick. Danny, appreciate your time, man.
Thank you so much, Jimmy. This was great.